All right, I'd like to call the Board of Selectmen meeting to order for November 16th at 6:03 p.m. Could I have a roll call, please?
Joe Shank present.
Chad Sexton Duranian present.
Veronica Cal present. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic
for which
which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
We need to get ourselves in sync with it.
That's right. All right, I'd like to announce that the meeting is being tape recorded. It should be live on Channel 9, and it will be posted on YouTube after the fact. It's also live on Zoom. Chairman's additions or deletions. I have nothing for that. And how about you, Chaz or Joe? Anything to add?
I'm good. I'm good.
Thank you.
All right. Public comment period. Are there any public comments? I'm looking for hands raised. All right. Seeing none, I'd like to move on to 1.6, review and approve the meeting minutes for 6:14 and 6:16 are not yet available, but we do have 9:21 and 10:05. So I guess if we take a motion and then discuss.
Madam Chair, I'll move to approve minutes for September 21st, 2021.
Is there a second?
Second,
There's a second. All right, any discussion
no,
before we vote? Joe or Chaz?
I didn't
nope,
see
I'm
any.
good.
I will tell you that what I did do is I went through and I accepted most of the grammar suggestions. You know how like so these are things like, oh, you're missing a comma, or, oh, there's 2 periods here. So when I was going through it, I just went through and I accepted all of those, but there was nothing content-wise, it was good, so.
Yep, I was good with that.
All right, is there a vote? All those in favor?
Joe Shank, yes.
Chad Sexton Duranian, yes.
Veronica Cal, yes. All right, how
So
about?
be it.
How about 10:05?
I move that we approve the minutes for October 5th, 2021.
Is there a second?
Second,
All right, any comments? I had a couple, just, these are more questions than comments. My first question really is, does the Zoom link need to be in the minutes? Because in this new format that we're using, it really doesn't leave a place for that. And in all the other minutes, we have the Zoom link, but is that really needed if we have the recording at the end?
I would.
You can just say, access was provided, excuse me, provided by Zoom, and leave out all the link information.
Okay, it says the virtual meeting was called to order. Is that good enough?
Sure.
Okay.
Do you put does the agenda go with the minutes too? Because that has that always
I
has
don't think it needs to. I mean,
Okay.
you have to tell them where the meeting was,
Yeah.
and if you say virtual via Zoom or in person or however it was.
If you look at the bottom where it says materials, it looks like the agenda is included.
Okay.
So that's good enough. Okay, so that was my first question. Now I have to read my own writing. Do we need to put in the minutes that these are things that are missing from the old format? Do we need to put in the minutes that a meeting is being recorded? Does that need to be in the, especially when you've got a link at the end? Is it really
I
necessary
don't
to
believe it's
do that?
necessary.
Okay.
We could put that part of the boilerplate is the chairman opened the meeting at X time and announced that it was
being recorded.
being recorded and being played. We make that part of the boilerplate minutes going forward. I don't think that's crucial now.
Okay. All right, and then the last one is, when I printed them, the left-hand column didn't line up with the right. Did anybody else have that issue?
What was that, Madam Chair?
The left-hand column didn't line up with the right. So if you look at updates and reports and general government, so go halfway down the third page.
Mhm.
All right, it should be,
Equal to Selectman Kell.
no. That was signing of the warrant. It's down farther, the update, where it says Selectman Cal.
Right,
And then elected board lined up with Selectman Sexton Duranian.
right.
And then public safety lined up with Joe Shen. Selectman Shen.
All right, I see.
It's more a formatting thing.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think they look good on the screen, but for some reason, going through SharePoint and printing, they get,
It comes out funky, and I don't know how to fix that. Same thing with the, and then on the left, I have this, interim town administrator report. It's a C attached report, but I couldn't figure out what in here was the interim town administrator report.
Are you making the edits in the SharePoint
I
Word
wasn't,
browser?
I didn't edit anything in these. I didn't edit a thing, but I printed them. Because when I was looking at it, it wasn't lining up right. So I thought, well, I'll print them and see how it came out. And it still didn't line up quite right.
Well, it needs to be, when they're written, it needs to be written in Word in the document and then uploaded. But if it's changed within SharePoint, the formatting is not going to be the same.
Okay. All right, maybe that's what it is. I don't know, but anyway, I would not approve the minutes because these are more formatting than
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah.
And I
No,
didn't have, I don't think I had anything content on.
I like the new format. I
I
really
do
do.
too.
Yeah, format's nice, much better.
So, all right, so those are just formatting questions that
Yep.
like to look at. So anyway, all right, so is there a motion to approve the minutes for 10? I mean, we have a motion. All in favor of approving the minutes for 10:05?
Joe Shank, yes.
Sexton Duranian, yes.
Veronica Kell, yes. All right. So we're a little bit early. We have it's listed as 6:15. Should we wait or can we?
I think it's
go
close
forward?
enough. It's not a
Yeah.
public hearing, it's a party meeting.
So we have a meeting with Russell K. Job, the past state commander of the VFW Department of Massachusetts. So welcome. And I'll turn it over to you.
I'm coming here on behalf of the Townsend VFW. Of course, Commander Natalie Call down there, and the reason I wanted to come is to present a letter citation of appreciation for the Vietnam wall we brought to town, and for your support, for the town's support and helping us get it here, even though it took 2 years and a lot of work, and again, you guys were at the ceremony, and that was a real good thing. In case you didn't know, we had over 6,600 members or visitors to the wall, and it rained the whole time.
Mhm.
And to put that in perspective, was it 6 years ago they had the wall in Fitchburg? 4 years ago they had it in Leominster, or vice versa. Both of those towns have 40,000 residents each, and combined they only had 11,000 people visit.
Oh, wow.
Wow,
Combined,
that's really nice.
over 6,600 visitors come out to Townsend in the rain, in the cold.
Yeah.
And of course, a lot of them come out and help put it together and take it apart when it was 100 degrees. So, again, we just wanted to thank you and wanted to present this to the, I'll give it to the administrator here, being he's over here. And it says it's a certificate of appreciation presented to the town of Townsend, Mass. The Townsend Veterans of Foreign Wars, Post 6538, and its auxiliary awards a citation to the town of Townsend, Massachusetts, as an expression of our sincere appreciation and full praise for your support and enthusiasm in bringing the once-in-a-lifetime Vietnam Veterans Memorial Fund, the Walnut Hills, Townsend, Mass, on July 1 through 4, 2021. The town's commitment to veterans of all wars is a great direct reflection of sense of community. And I want to say thank you, and I would give you a coin, but I think Joe has got a couple coins that he's
Yes.
going to.
So,
Right there.
Russell,
Yeah, for it.
Madam Chair,
Yeah, go ahead, Joe.
Russell, first of all, thank you very much. I want to tell you, working with you and the organization, it was really impeccable. I do have the 2 medallions that I am working on that I'm going to have into a plaque. So as we spoke with the board, as soon as that's done, I'll present it, and we can put that together somewhere in town hall.
That
Absolutely.
would be great.
And just so you know, Joe, that there's a lot of mementos left at the wall. There's always Vietnam veterans and family members come out. The mementos that were left, of course, that weren't, damaged because of the rain, they were collected, and they're actually hanging in the principal's office in a montage in his office that was left there as memento that it did come to North Middlesex High School. So,
Nice.
and they also got a plaque to hang up down there. It's fitting. That's what we did. We all worked together, and that was a once in a lifetime thing.
I agree. Thank you very
Great,
much, sir.
thank
It was
you.
excellent.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Russell, thank you very much. Russell, I'm shaking your hand.
But you're
I'm shaking your hand. Okay. Thank you very much.
end of the month. I'll be down there. We'll see.
All right.
Thank you.
And then maybe something, Madam Chair and Chaz, we can talk about before we get to the final part of them medallions. Maybe we can put the medallions that I have set up getting done, maybe into a bigger frame and put that so it's encased with it, but something we can talk about.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
All right, because I already spoke with the committee to hang it in town hall, and they gave us permission to do that. So we'll work on that.
Excellent. All right, thank you. At 6:30, we have the meeting with FinCom. So should we go on to the appointments and come back at 6:30 in case people aren't on that intended to be?
Okay.
All right. So moving down to 3.1. Is there a motion to appoint Cindy Boundy to the Townsend Affordable Housing Trust?
I move that we appoint Cindy Boundy to the Townsend Affordable Housing Trust.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, any,
Did it say for how long?
Yeah, is there a term?
I think it's a 3-year term. If I remember, Joan, you're on. Joan's the chairman of the Affordable Housing Trust. I don't know if she hears me.
Hi,
Yep.
Hi, Joan. Do you know the term for citizen at-large members on the Affordable Housing Trust?
I'm sorry, I do not.
I seem to remember 3 years.
Is she going to be filling a term or not?
Well, that's a good question.
3 years unless filling another term.
There
Right,
you go.
all right.
3 years
So
sounds
amended.
great.
All right, 3 years unless filling another term. All right, any other discussion?
No.
Nope.
All right.
Nope.
All those in favor?
Joe Shank, yes.
That's like Duranian, yes.
Veronica Cal, yes. Congratulations, Cindy. So the next appointment, 3.2, appoint Clay Landry as a per diem firefighter medic for the Townsend Fire EMS department for a term effective November 16th, 2021 to June 30th, 2022, contingent upon the passing of the Cory check, a medical exam, and with a 6-month probationary period. Is there a motion?
I move that we appoint Clay Landry as a per diem firefighter medic for the Townsend Fire EMS Department for a term effective November 16th, 2021 to June 30th, 2022, contingent upon the passing of a Cory check, medical exam with a 6-month probationary period.
Is there
Second.
a second?
Second,
All right, any further discussion? All right, all in favor?
Joe Shank, yes.
Sexton Duranian, yes.
Veronica Kell, yes. So congratulations, Clay. We'll get remaining paperwork done. All right, moving on to meeting business. 4.1, sign the MOU with Patriot Rec Dispatch contingent on successful separation from Neshoba. And I think that goes along with the next one, agree to send the separation notice to Neshoba Valley Regional Dispatch Center.
Yep.
And I guess who is the, I didn't have anything on this in the SharePoint. So is there any paperwork on this or anything for us to look at? If not, we'll move it to December 7th.
I thought, wasn't all that sent to everybody from council?
I did not receive it.
Ross, did you receive that?
I don't believe so.
Jay, I think me and you, just so, Madam Chair, you mind if I address
No, go
Jay?
ahead, Joe. Yeah,
Jay, I thought
please.
when we had the meetings with council, she was there, she took care of everything, she was sending everything out to us. We all approved it, correct?
Yeah, in fact, I'm thinking that I had sent it in as as an agenda item directly to Ross or maybe through Carolyn as well.
Yeah, because we had that conversation, it was coming, so that's why I'm surprised we do not have it.
But if I got it, I'm sorry I didn't put it forward on the SharePoint.
Can we maybe,
Okay.
so we move forward, maybe have a little discussion on this? Jay's here. I've sat in on all these meetings. I've kept you updated a little bit. So what happened is we had a meeting with Patriot Rec with the, all 3 towns were there. And we worked out a agreement that we would all participate in it. Jay, you can correct me at any time if I'm mistaken, but I think we were doing 1/3, 1/3, 1/3 sharing the cost. So they agreed to that, even though Ashby's a lot smaller. They're willing to take us on. All 2 towns voted to take us on. Council was there in one of our meetings and we drew up the documents so that we would have everything that we wanted and it went forward. And I'm very surprised that we don't have it in hand, but I think it's something.
Yeah, but Joe, if I could, Mr.
Yeah.
Shank, just real quick on the financial responsibility piece of it. It's a little different than the 1/3, 1/3, and 1/3. There's a section in there. I'd be happy to read it. I'd be happy to go over it. But it basically works out that the allocation, each town's allocated percentage portion of the annual budget cost shall be determined by dividing the population of the member town by the total population of all member towns. So there is a percentage that is
it's
hooked in there, but it is
proportional.
not a third, and a third.
Oh, all right.
Okay, it's proportional to,
And that's a fairly conventional model of trying to split costs for those regional rec centers. We found through our study that we had commissioned, this has been an ongoing 3-year project, as you guys know. We found that to be a fairly conventional way of splitting costs. There's a few things I would point out as talking points I would draw your attention to if you were so inclined. If you're going to push it out, that's fine as well. I will say though that we do have a deadline looming pretty quick. We have to tell Neshoba by January, by the end of the calendar year to leave in July. And there is a great deal of footwork that would need to take place. So if there was a way to move this up or address it tonight, I would prefer that if at all possible.
I'd like to put it on if we can on Monday,
I think we can do that. We'll move it to
because
November.
I'd like to be able to read it first before we go over this, because
I would
it's,
too. So, okay, we'll put this, we have a work session on November 22nd. We can put this on the agenda for that.
So who's
Um,
going to send us out everything? Where is all the paperwork?
I don't
Well,
know.
if it was sent, I'll look to see if I have it. I'm sorry if I didn't pass it on, but if not, I'll get a hold of Jane and get another copy.
Yeah, I
Was
can most certainly.
counsel Kate?
Yes, she had
You
reviewed the
say
document.
counsel was there?
Correct.
Yes.
She has reviewed the document prior to it being signed by the other two communities. It was reviewed by Kate. I'll be happy to take care of it offline with Ross the rest of the week and have copies sent to you guys ASAP by the end of business tomorrow for sure.
That would be good. Okay. And then 4.2, that's to separate from the other dispatch.
That's correct. One and the same. What I was hoping you would do is just give the authority for us to work with Kate to come up with a letter that meets the legal requirements of separation as is detailed in the MOU with Neshoba.
right, and that's the one that you have to give 6 months or something beforehand, chief?
Yeah.
Right. I think we have to tell them by January to be effective by July. So we have a deadline quickly approaching, and not to mention the project of itself is pretty engaged and intense. So the quicker we can get going, the better.
All right. So we will do this at our Monday meeting then. So please get us the documents and we'll do the vote for 4.2 at that time as well.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
can we at least address, maybe because there's nothing to review, maybe at least take a vote to have Kate start drawing up the separation agreement so that we can then review it, because it's the same, but at least we can give them notice that we're planning to move. Not voting on the MOU, but just agreeing to have Kate move forward with drawing up the letter that they have to legally, so we can move forward with Neshoba.
Well, here's the thing. I think to me, it's first you sign to separate and then you do the separation notice to the other. You sign to sign on to the new place.
Right.
So I wouldn't want to.
If time constraints were an issue, I could get with Kate quick and just make sure that there's not going to be a major turnaround time for her to provide that document. I can't imagine it would take more than a day or so. It's been on her radar for this entire time. I can just shoot a quick email tomorrow and let her know, hey, would that take more than a couple of days? And if she says yes, I can certainly get back to you. I don't imagine it will take her long to put together something that will suffice.
If
All right,
they
that's
don't
fine.
need it until January, I think that if we vote on Monday, it's fine.
Okay.
You know, it should be fine.
But,
All right.
but still, she can draft it, though. We don't need to vote on her drafting it, right?
Well, that's what I was saying. That's what I'm asking. If she can at least
Well,
work
we
on
can do
drafting a
that.
letter.
Yeah.
But what if we choose not to? Then we've paid counsel for work that
I agree there.
we,
Okay, yep,
we didn't need.
Yeah.
That's the only reason.
okay.
I mean, I anticipate
I
that
didn't
all
think
of
of
this
that,
is
but-
going to go in the positive direction, but I don't know.
No, I agree. I
I think
of
we'll move both of these to Monday.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, that's fine.
All right. I don't want to. Where's the next place to go? We have a couple minutes.
Well, you've
before
got the
6:30.
sheet here. You want to do 4.3?
Sure. So this is review and vote to approve the amended police use of force policy. So I think we did get this we did get, and I did look through it. And I guess what I would want in the future is when you send the policy, I'd like to see it redlined with what the changes are, unless these are policies that are not in place at all at this point. So when I read it, I assumed that what I was reading was the new policy. Is that correct?
There was and is an existing use of force policy. Any of the changes were mandated either by law or by regulation. So I'd be happy to do that. The issue I think sometimes becomes the state of the policies at the department or make that difficult, but I could probably figure that piece out.
I guess I read it, and you said that you've retained the Diagle Law Group, and so they're going to be writing these, so there's probably nothing wrong with the policies, but I was wondering what the changes were.
Sure, no, understandable. And a point of,
Them.
yeah, understandable. And point of clarification, Daigle did not assist us on this one. This came a little quicker. The mandates kicked in. This legislation was really poorly constructed and worded and rolled out, to be frank, and it's prompting some changes that are very, very quick. In fact, officers are actually obligated to follow this policy by a state law, whether or not we have a policy or not. It took place prior to our ability as a profession to react, to actually digest the law and actually put it to work. It's a bit of a challenge for the organization and the profession in general. But I think moving forward, certainly with the Daigle Law Group, if it happens in a manner that's consistent with formatting to provide you that, Ms. Kell, I should be able to do that.
And if it's not, what I would like is the existing policy and then the new policy. Because I would read them both. That's why, Chief, and that's
Sure.
all. I would read them both.
Sure.
So anyway, and I didn't know what the amendments were. So
Sure, yeah, just real quick, I could clear that up a little bit. I think the major changes were limited in scope, really, to be honest. They really are limited to an outright ban on chokeholds, the requirement to use de-escalation tactics prior to any sort of use of force, duty for officers to intervene in and report any unlawful use of force, and a prohibition on the use of force on a subject who is a danger to themselves. Those were the major changes in legislation and regulation that took place. Again, no discretion for us as a department and or you as a board, as these are state laws and or covered by regulation. So those really are the major changes. The other ones were more nuanced, based talking about reporting and slight changes in reporting procedure to account for the new regulations and laws. But generally speaking, the changes are limited to those major topics.
And those were in the letter that accompanied it.
Yep.
So, all right. So Chaz or Joe or Ross, anything else to say?
I've read through the policy. I've talked to the chief. I think it's appropriate and a good move for the department, a good move for the town. And as you said, is also in compliance with state and federal laws.
That's exactly how I saw it. It just puts us exactly where we need to be. So I'm okay with that.
It addresses the major items that you see on the sound bites on TV, which is the chokeholds, being able to de-escalate situations, and having officers intervene if they see something wrong. I think those are the major steps. That is actually a big step forward.
I mean, I've had conversation with the chief also, and I think it's mandated stuff that, we have to do. I mean, and I think it's going to protect the general public. It should hopefully protect the officers from any kind of backlash. I mean, I think we have to stay with federal and state laws and move forward.
So is there a motion?
I move to approve the amended police use of force policy.
Second.
And thank you, Joe. All right. Any further discussion?
Madam Chair, if or you can finish the vote. I just wanted to make a quick comment before you moved on to the next item, if I could.
Okay. All those in favor, and then we'll take the comment.
Joe Shank, yes.
Sexton Duranian, yes.
Veronica Kell, yes. All right, go ahead, comment?
Yeah, Ms. Kell, as you had mentioned earlier, we have retained a consultant to help us with some policy work over the next fiscal year, and probably will try and secure funding for the following fiscal year to get us through these reforms and to get a state level accreditation. I just wanted to throw it out there to the board that if it was from a matter of an efficiency standpoint, given the fact that we'll probably be reviewing dozens of policies, if you wanted to assign one member of the board as a subcommittee that we could meet with on a more frequent basis through some of the more major changes, because I think it's going to be a bit tedious to handle things this way, where we would be looking at red line changes to policies, because I do think a complete rewrite of our manual is going to take place. I would be amenable to that. I certainly would prefer that if it was at all possible. And then, of course, we could brief the entire board on the major components or changes to our policies as a generality. But I think on the more nuanced situation, it would be nice to have a liaison or a subcommittee kind of put together where we could kind of speak to form and fashion and kind of break that down to them, and they could then report things to the board on a more regular or frequent basis. I think that would be a much more efficient use of the board's time. Just throwing it out there as an idea, and I'm more than amenable to help make that work however it may work.
All right, do we want to, we're past 6:30. Can we come back to talk about that another time?
You can just agree to, I would prefer that you have a liaison do that versus a subcommittee.
Yeah, me too.
Right, so Joe, are you good with that? You're the liaison.
Oh, I'm fine. Yeah, I'm fine with that, Chief. Me and you will stay in touch. We'll figure out what we got to do, and and then we'll bring it back as we do it. I'm good with that.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Okay, all right, thank you. All right, 6:30, we have a meeting with FinCom to review the special town meeting warrant. So do we have FinCom members here?
Did you make any extra copies of the?
Well, I did, but they disappeared, but I can make some more.
So do we need to call the FinCom? I don't know if your meeting is still taking place, or if we need to call a new meeting. Their meeting ended, okay. So do we have a quorum of the FinCom here? And do you need to recall your meeting to order, Dawn or Andrea?
Yes, hi, Veronica, this is Don.
Yeah.
We did a recess in our meeting, so we would need to come back from the recess.
Okay,
And,
so if you want to go ahead and
join
do
you.
that. All right. So do you need a recall?
I think I need a motion from membership. Because I was leading the meeting from moderating the meeting. So as such, I don't think I can make a motion to come back from the recess. So we need Geraldine or she was on here, Andrea to make a motion to come back. I don't see a fourth member right now. We had expected a fourth member to be here to have a quorum also.
Okay. I'm looking here.
I don't see one.
Yeah, I only see 3. All right, so are you back from recess or not, or?
I would
Have a
say
quorum is what he's saying.
not without the quorum. I don't think we should try to
Okay.
restart.
So if we see somebody join, Dawn, we'll let you know, and then if we need to.
Okay, yep, and I would expect it to be Sulicio would be the name we're looking for.
Okay. All right, well, here's Russ with the warrant. I forgot, I might have one, but I'll see.
We have one stated today.
1455. Drew, do you want one? Since you're here,
Thank you.
you're welcome. All right, so this was to review the special town meeting warrant. So how do we want to do this? Ross, do you want to go over it since you've been the one working on this?
Sure, I go through article by article. I think the wording is final. Assuming the board approves it tonight, I was gonna send it to town council for final review. And then hopefully he can have it back for you to sign on Monday. And that will be obviously the official version. Article 1 is $5,165.20 to pay 2 past bills from the previous year. $1,565 to Impact Fire and $3,600 to CM Geeks. Both of these were invoices that got lost in the sort of a shuffle between offices and need to be paid, but it requires a 9/10 vote to pay them when they're late like this. Article 2, and that's the main reason we're here, is to raise and appropriate or transfer from available funds $160,627.55. Actually, Veronica and I looked at that, and it's now down to like $159,000 with some changes we made the last minute.
We can drop that by $770.
And that reflects the spreadsheet that's in the back of the warrant that lists all the items that changed or were really not known when the town went to town meeting last May. And these reflect mostly contract negotiations that were still pending at that time, adjustments to the Colleen Center pay scale. Those are the major number. The dollars, there's a lot there in the first one, which is to adjust town administrator salary, covering for the town administrator that left, covering the interim town administrator, which is my wages, and it's covering potentially a new person starting April 1st. The only other major change is money that's put in there to cover the acting chief of the fire department. We assume that that might continue through June 30th of next year, but we don't really know for sure. It could be less. And on the cost reduction side, we had a $49,000 reduction due to a lower assessment from the schools. So that is a big savings to the town and it offsets some of these rather large increases. If you take out the increase for the town administrator salary line item, the increases are actually pretty minimal. That's what we'll be asking the town to do. I am anticipating funding this from free cash, but I can't make that commitment until free cash is certified. The town accountant set the year-end statements to DOR, I think it was Friday afternoon or first thing Monday, so we should get some free cash certified shortly. If we decide to raise an appropriate, then obviously that impacts when they can set the tax rate, which needs to be done so we can get the tax bills out by the end of the year. So we're on a very tight cycle, but I think that we're down to knowing what the numbers need to be. And hopefully I will be able, well, by town meeting, I will tell you how we're going to fund these. Articles 3 through 7 cover adjustments to the water department. Those funds are coming out of their enterprise account, and so they don't impact directly the tax bill or the water bills. Article 8 is to accept a mass general law that allows us to pay $1,000 extra to the town clerk for being certified. That number is actually in the budget that was approved in May. So this article is really just to accept that mass general law. The funding, as I said, was already included in the budget, so this is not incremental funding. It's also something that the town basically is required to accept to meet mass general law. Article 9 is a change or an update to the general bylaw to handle unregistered motor vehicles. which provides a means to regulate and police and address violations. And this is language that's been proofread and amended and adjusted by town council. I sent a copy back to the chief and to the building commission today to be sure that it still meets what they intended after town council's review. So we're down to 9 articles for town meeting. And with your approval, I will send this to town council for review and have a copy back to you sign hopefully on Monday.
The only change I would make is for Article 2, it's the one we talked about, Ross. For line 5, instead of $2,569.09, that should be $1,799. And you can subtract 770 from the $160,627.55, making it $159,854. No, 857.55.
Okay.
That's the only change that I have. I guess, does anybody from the finance committee have any questions for us? Okay, so Chaz or Joe?
I'm good.
So do we need a motion for you to send it to the,
Yeah, that'd be fine. I mean, the official thing will be when you sign it, hopefully next week, but you can say that you approve this for submission to town council.
okay, so is there a motion to approve this to submit to town council?
I move that we approve the warrant articles to submit to town council.
Is there a second?
Second,
Okay, any further discussion? All right, hearing none. All those in favor?
Joe Shank, yes.
Just Duranian, yes.
Veronica Tal, yes.
Thank you. If I have any more edits between now and tomorrow morning, I'll let you know.
I'm sure you will.
Good.
When we get the final on Article 9, I'd like to be able to get that up on the website as soon as possible so that we can have.
As soon as I get it back from town council, I'll post it on the website.
Yeah, I think next week is probably the time to do that.
We're hoping that if I've got you a finished copy by the Monday, you can sign it and the constables will be ready to post it and we'll do the website at the same time.
I think that sounds good.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right.
Did we vote on that?
I thought we did. Maybe we didn't. Well, let's vote on it, just to be sure, but I think I wrote down yes
I can't
on
remember.
all of us. We did vote.
We did, okay.
We did.
All right,
Been a long day for me, Joe.
so we have about 15 minutes before our next appointment. Thank you, FinCom. I think we're all set then, with the meeting. So 7 p.m. is our next meeting with the TA Search Committee. So let's go on to 4.4. Any comment on the zoning board mandatory referral special permit for 233 Main Street?
This is for McNabb Pharmacy.
Yes, it is.
I looked over everything. I just say that the selectmen have no comment and let the boards work their magic on it.
I would agree with that. So,
I agree with it also. I mean, it's a small business, been in town a long time. Hopefully it can work out for them.
Yep, I agree.
well, so the BOS has no comment. Is that what we're gonna put on there? Do we need a vote for that, or can we just?
I don't need a vote on that, do we?
For,
No.
okay.
It's noted that you discussed it, so.
Okay, so moving on, 4.5, sign the contract with the Arca consultant. This is more of a procurement question. Do we need to get 2 other quotes for this? And what does a quote consist of? Because I did reach out to Clifton Larson. I haven't heard back.
What is the dollar amount?
It's not a total dollar amount. It's consulting at $160 per hour for whatever we need. So we're planning to use them for writing up the projects, for reporting. Once we determine which projects we have, maybe querying them on the allowable projects once we've narrowed that down, which is our Monday focus, is how we're going to pick them. So, and then submit them to look at for that to see if they are allowable uses. And then writing up for each of the projects, depending on what type of project it is, there's a different reporting stream that needs to be set up. Setting up those accounts as needed, and then doing the reporting when it's required. The first report is April 30th of 2022. So that's what we're using them for. Possibly also for keeping the website up to date, keeping people informed on what we're doing and where we are with those funds. We had talked about that as well, under the projects tab of the website. So, but it's $160 an hour. It doesn't say it's going to be so, the other one, they said, okay, it's up to $25,000 and then they charged us hourly. This doesn't have a cap. And it's over, it's as long as we keep them. The funds have to be expended by 2026.
So I would assume that we use them more in the beginning and then less as time goes on.
Right,
So it's more
during
mandatory.
reporting time.
Yeah.
They will be covered, but I don't think, and is procurement a number of years, or is it for this year versus next year versus next year? So
Normally you can't do a contract for more than 3 years,
right,
so that would probably be a limiter.
this is an hourly.
You need to estimate your number of hours, and then you can figure out where your cutoff is, but 160 an hour into 10 grand is 62 hours. So that might be a safe bet that will be a long time before we use up that.
Right.
So I don't think there's a problem. I mean, you've called around looking for other vendors
Right.
or sent out inquiries. So you've done the due diligence as far as trying to get other quotes. If no one responds,
I've sent one through. I haven't sent a second. Sorry. Okay, trying this out.
Is this your next quote?
Okay, so I wasn't sure what to do from a procurement standpoint.
I think you're okay.
Okay. Then, do we have a vote to sign the contract with our Arca consultant, Capital Strategic Solutions? Yes,
I move that we sign the contract for American Rescue Plan Act grant support services for Townsend presented by Capital Strategic Solutions.
Second,
is there a second? All right,
And would you want to put a cap, a not to exceed number, and then they haven't come back and make a second proposal, or?
So 56 hours, is that what you said?
not to exceed $10,000.
Sure.
Okay.
And then if it needs to be more, they can come back and ask for it,
And do we want to put a time period on that, not to exceed $10,000 in 6 months or in
which is $10,000.
$10,000.
Not to exceed $10,000. Okay, and then we'll get another proposal.
Yeah.
If we need it. Okay, that sounds good.
So not to exceed $10,000 then.
I'll second that.
Sounds good. All right, anything else, discussion wise? All right, all those in favor of signing this, session?
Joe Shank, yes.
Chad Sexton Duranian, yes.
Veronica, yes. All right, so we can get that put out and we'll sign it tomorrow or whenever, and get that to Jennifer. All right, the next one is discuss the Arca project list decision process. Do we want to hold that for Monday?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. What do you think, Joe? Can we hold that for Monday?
Sure. Yep. As long as I get out of that meeting Monday by 1 o'clock in the afternoon, I'll be fine.
I hope so too.
I think you will.
Okay. I'd like to jump to the TA so we can,
7 o'clock.
yeah.
4.7, SharePoint process for meeting minutes and correspondence. This was something that we wanted to go over to make sure that everybody understands where things go and who moves what, where, when, where we make changes, who makes changes. So I think we've already decided that meeting minutes, when they're written, go into the working folder.
Mhm.
And when they're approved, okay, so they go into the working folder. Who makes the changes? I mean, I did go in and I just accepted all the grammatical changes that
Mhm.
were, am I allowed to do that? And I did it right there in SharePoint.
Yeah.
So I didn't do anything else. So any of us can do grammatical changes. If we have changes that are content changes, are we writing those down and giving them to Karen? See a head nodding. I think that might be what we want to do, so then she can make the changes.
I thought that that's what it was supposed to be.
Okay, and still in the working minutes,
Yes,
and they're approved with these changes.
right. It's working minutes until we approve it. And then when we approve it, it gets moved to the approved file.
Who does that moving?
I would suggest that once the board has voted them, approved them, Carolyn moves into the approved folder.
Okay,
Converts them to PDF and converts them to,
And puts it on the website.
puts them on the website.
okay,
Backing up to grammatical changes, I think you said you all could review that online and look at changes.
right there in SharePoint.
But
yeah.
if there's substantive changes, I think to be overly cautious open meeting law, you should pull a copy off the share drive, make your edits and send them to Carol.
Okay.
That way it doesn't appear that you're discussing them amongst yourselves outside of the meeting, as much as that sort of defeats the purpose of the SharePoint drive. I will submit that the state law, open meeting law hasn't quite caught up with the technology that SharePoint offers.
No. Okay, and so substantive changes, we pull the copy. And make the changes on the copy. Do we discuss them in a meeting? Or do we, so that everybody knows we've made those changes?
She will incorporate those changes and she can put them back on the share drive.
Right. That's what I thought, that she can make the changes, put it on the share drive. We all review it. And in our next meeting, that's because it's working, it's minutes working.
Okay, so we should give the substantive changes to Carolyn before I put them on the agenda for approval.
Yep.
Okay,
And if she can incorporate your changes because they don't contradict with one another,
Mhm.
then it moves forward. if she thinks that they contradict, then she's gonna say, well, I've gotten 2 changes and I can't match them up. The board discusses it at the next meeting.
Okay,
Yeah, I'm good with
okay,
them.
that's good.
I'm good
All
with
right.
that. Yep, I'm good.
Okay, so Carolyn, PDF and moves them to the approved folder. Okay, so we have a ton of minutes hanging out in limbo there.
Yes, we do.
So what are we doing with the limbo minutes? I know that some of them are ready to roll in the PDF and roll. They're things that we've done over the past several months.
Right, so I haven't gone through that particular file. But the ones that we have voted on, have they been changed? And
Usually if they've been changed, at least if I'm the one that changed them, because there was a time you didn't have.
right,
And so if there's a like a dot dot and a dot dot X, that's one that's been changed.
okay,
Take the newest,
okay,
and that's one that goes.
okay. So how about if I take those, put them into the working file and let Carolyn look at them to then move them over? Is
Well,
that okay?
if you think they've been approved,
I think we should just get them
Just
out.
put
of
them in
that.
the,
Yeah,
okay, then,
so she may not know.
okay.
and if you, I mean, Chaz, if you're sort of volunteering to do the backlog, the ones that are in limbo you talked about.
So I'll just move them to the approved file and then she can, post them on the website.
I should give you my very cryptic C's and A's. You know, completed and approved. So that you know, these are the summertime minutes.
Yeah,
I have to give you a key to go with this, but that way you can know whether they've been approved or not.
okay,
So I'll make a copy of that before I leave today, don't let me forget.
okay.
All right. So we're pretty good then on the minutes then. I don't have anything else there. Unless someone else does.
I do not.
Okay,
Nope.
other thing is correspondence. I just want to confirm that anything that comes in goes in the correspondence folder. And then we look at the correspondence and move them to the appropriate, well, I don't move them, I copy them to the appropriate SharePoint folder for a meeting. If it's something that needs to be, like the appointments today, they were in the correspondence, at least one of them was, and I copied it to the other, so it's now in both places. So that's what I've been doing, but what about you guys? What are you expecting to happen with the correspondence folder?
I was doing the same thing, but I just haven't had time to do that.
I usually do it like, because Ross and I on the agendas, I usually look through the correspondence right before, so that I know what needs to go on the agenda,
Okay.
if there is any.
I mean, there may be some correspondence that's obvious and it should move to the agenda when it comes in,
Mhm.
because you know you're gonna need a vote.
I
Yeah.
agree, like resignations or things like that, yeah.
Your office gets a lot of mail, some of it is junk mail. But do you want that all put in correspondence and then you can decide whether it just stays there or gets moved up? Or do you want someone to sort of filter out and say, well, this doesn't really apply to Townsend, therefore gets thrown away and you never see it? That's a tough decision because one person's filter may not be the same as someone else's filter.
Which is why I think everything goes into correspondence,
Yeah, I agree.
and then we look at it and decide whether we need to have it in.
Okay. Everything comes in, goes,
It does, even if it is, you know, there's some that's obvious, Jen. But, you know, like a flyer for I don't know,
Be careful.
yeah, never mind.
well, except
Yeah,
out of the
everything,
three of you, someone might find that interesting and say, oh, we should do that in Townsend, even though it's referring to
right,
someplace else. Or y'all might say,
Wisconsin,
you know, like the junk mail you get at home,
right.
but we don't want to be accused of censoring your incoming mail, nor do we want to flood you with stuff that is junk, but We need
Right, but
guidance from
it's-
you and what you want.
I believe, and I agree with you, because there's some things that might be important for one person that another person might not think that it's very important, so. And
Well,
I also, go ahead, Joe, I'm sorry.
I just go in and I read them, and if it's something I find interesting, I have my how do you do Ross and talk to him. So that's what I do with it.
Yeah, no filtering then,
Yeah,
Okay.
no filtering. Okay,
All right.
and we'll go forward with that. All right, TA search committee. So Chaz, I'm gonna turn it over to you.
well,
Sure.
actually, I'm gonna turn it over to, we have Andrew Funk here. Andrew, you want to let the board know what we talked about when we had our meeting?
Yeah, Andrew Funk, I am the secretary of the TA search committee. We also appointed Chaz as chair and Don Hayes as vice chair. Still very novice to this. I'm hoping you might be able to lend me a little bit of a hand here. We are still working on the process of sending out, when we get applications, how to distribute those and all of our correspondence, I should say. Which I believe you were working on a way of doing that.
We're looking at it, something that I wanted to talk to you about in regards to when we do get the applications in, how are we gonna be able to distribute it to the rest of the committee? We need to talk about if we're gonna redact names, that kind of stuff, you know, how we're gonna be able to keep it. I looked at SharePoint, but they're not on, if you're not on Office 365, I'm not sure, they can read, but they can't, you know, we can't send back and forth, so we probably need to find another one. I want to talk to Don too, a little bit about what his thoughts are, because you guys use Google Docs in your other committee, Don, right?
Yes, sorry. Yes, we used Google Docs before. We could set that up and use that if we need to.
I think this may be a case of old technology where you set a date for applications that are due by this date, have them come to Carolyn's office. And at the end of that point, she makes copies for everybody on the committee. And you all get them in one big box at a time, I mean, versus dribs and drabs. When I went through this in other towns on the search committee for Stowe, the thought was if you get them all at once, you're less predisposed to maybe pick the first one you see and not be open-minded to the last one that comes in.
Very true.
We would handle the copying, we would put packets together that say, you know, the submission date ended yesterday, and by 2 days later, we'll have everything copied for you, and by pick them up. That's up to you and how you want to process it. You asked about redacting names. I think that adds another step to the process, and at some point, you need to know who it is because you might know something good or bad about that person.
Mhm.
And that's, I think, is part of your evaluation. At some point, I think we're going to do reference checks. At some point, you may want to do social media checks. You need names.
Right. Well, we
Do that.
did talk about, that. We also did a verbal, affidavit per se, that we all agreed that everything was gonna be held in confidence and, you know, that sort of stuff. So that is on record, that we've done that in regards to that portion of it. I think today we were looking at, all that the next thing that we need to do is to set the job posting and the job description. I know that the search committee wanted to look at the job description and posting. So when we approve that, we can send it to Andrew and he can send it out to the rest of the committee. In regards to that. Is there anything else, Don, that I'm missing?
Sorry, there was one thing and it slipped my mind. I'll see if I can remember.
Okay. I guess on the other thing, we can talk about it when we, that I'm thinking of, that we can talk about it when we do the job posting. But the timeline that we discussed, it was, we thought it was, some members thought that it was a little quick, but we are willing to work with whatever timeline that you guys want to do. That once we get the applications in, see how many there are, then we can adjust it if we need to.
Okay, so do you want a timeline? Okay, so my timeline is, here's my timeline. Okay, by November 30th, posting is out. Applications due December 30th. You guys get them to us by January 30th. We make a decision by February 29th, 30th. Is there 30 in February? 30 days.
28, but
28, yeah. So February 28th, this is a little aggressive, but maybe not. February 30th, we make a decision, and hopefully we have somebody in by March 30th, April 3rd. How does that sound? So posting by the 30th of November, applications by the 30th of December. Interviews, search committee provides to us by January 30th. We can make these the first of the next month if you want. Search committee, end of January. COS decision, end of February.
okay, so that means that we don't even have to meet until January.
What do you mean? No, you need to meet. You get December off. You have a busy next 2 weeks.
Yes, I know.
Get December a little quiet as the applications come in. You might wanna,
So the
Okay.
applications, all the applications, so we would just set a date to get the applications.
I would put a date on this.
Okay, so the 30th is on what day of the week?
Oh, I have no The 25th is a Saturday, right? So it'd be like a Thursday or something.
November 30th,
November 3rd. I was going December 30th.
No, December 30th.
December 30th. That is on a Sunday.
It is?
Okay, so
Saturday, sorry. No, Sunday. Yeah, it's Sunday.
Are you sure?
December 31st is Friday.
Oh, no, sorry, I'm in January. 30th is a Thursday.
31st is Friday.
Yes.
okay, so
Okay.
why don't we then, we'll pick up the applications on the 31st of December. Well, that's New Year's Eve.
That's New Year's Eve.
Yeah, you do better to say that applications are due on the 31st and you pick them up on
January
Monday
2nd.
or probably Tuesday the 4th. How's that?
That sounds good. And then, Andrew, I'll work with you. We'll put the packets together and get them out to the other members.
Okay,
Okay?
perfect.
Okay, so what about compensation for the position? You have X's in your
Well,
thing. I
yeah,
have numbers. I have numbers.
we're not there yet.
Oh, okay.
we're
all
not
right,
there
sorry.
yet.
Okay. I'll be
So
quiet.
as far as, we just wanted the timeline to know when we're gonna meet and all of that, so we can
Okay.
bring this to the next meeting.
Yes.
And then we can send out, and as you and I talked, we'll just send out something to let everybody know what we talked about tonight.
Yes, definitely.
Okay. All right, now we can talk about both the job description and the job posting.
Okay, I did more on the job posting than the job description. And I edited it in SharePoint, because I was on a roll.
I could tell.
And I did the review thing in SharePoint, and I'm making changes even as I'm sitting here reading it. So,
Did you read the posting?
No.
The town of Townsend, Mass, population 9,127, 2020 census seeks an individual, I would say, to serve as its town administrator, who has hands-on experience in municipal government, a strategic mindset, that is a visionary leader with strong communication and collaborative skills, period. So I changed it from what you had. Are you looking at what you had?
Yeah,
Okay, I changed it. I changed it. Because I thought it was too wordy.
right.
There are too many words, and what I've learned is that if you put in too many words, people don't read them.
So how are we gonna do this then? Because if you've changed it, then,
I haven't changed the content, the spirit
no, I'm
of
not
it.
saying that. I'm just saying, we gotta, I wanna make sure that we have the posting approved and all that, because, so how do you wanna do this?
I can give you mine. Here.
Right, so you're gonna give it back to me to
I-
change. That's my point.
I can change it right here in SharePoint. It's not a problem. You want me to do that or no?
Yeah, that's
So-
why I put them in there. I wanted to, you know, if you wanted to make changes, to make the changes, and then we can just approve it.
Okay.
I didn't want a big,
changes.
huge, long, drawn-out process, is what I'm trying to say.
Well, then my changes are in there. That's the new change. I put in one sentence that I would want you to look at because these are my thingies. But I kept it pretty close. I changed, you're looking at yours, I'm
Right.
looking at mine.
Right, and you've already put them in there.
I've already put them in SharePoint.
Okay.
Okay, so what I did under requirements, let me find that.
I'm talking, see, I'm looking at the job posting,
I'm looking at the job posting too.
okay,
There were requirements in there.
okay.
But where are they? Oh, first paragraph, okay. This is an immediate position in a full-service municipality led by a 3-member Board of Selectmen with a representative town meeting form of government. The total operating budget of Townsend is approximately 30 million. The candidate will hold a bachelor's degree in public administration or a related field, and at least 5 years of progressive experience in municipal administration. A master's degree in public administration or a related field is preferred, but any equivalent combination of education and experience will be considered. So it's what you have, but it's simpler. Okay. Next paragraph. The successful candidate will possess knowledge of the principles and practices of public administration, including, so I took out a semicolon and put the word including in because I thought the first two were the same thing. Thorough knowledge of principles, practices, and laws relating to personal administration for public employees, including collective bargaining, knowledge of sources of information related to problems of local government. I thought that was interesting. Knowledge of sources. They don't have to know anything about problems. They just need to know where they can go to look and find out about problems. Is that what you meant? Okay. Thorough knowledge of the laws related to public hiring, discrimination, harassment. Thorough knowledge of the laws related to the procurement process. Knowledge of mass general laws. I thought it was interesting that that knowledge did not need to be thorough. So I would almost have put thorough knowledge of, or just knowledge of. Thorough is kind of like, how do you know?
Well, and I'd suggest that if they know how to look something up in Mass General laws, that's a good start.
They don't need to know all the law.
I don't think you want a lawyer
Right.
who might
That's
know.
the way I didn't put thorough.
Thorough means you don't have to be a lawyer. It means you have to be a lawyer. I don't know. I would have done more like, and I didn't change this because I did make a lot of changes. I would just say including knowledge of principles, practices, blah, 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 comma, knowledge of sources, information related to, et cetera, et cetera. Knowledge of municipal finance and budgets, and an understanding of Townsend's local bylaws. That I thought was interesting. But anyway, candidates should also have a proficiency in computer applications, including knowledge of spreadsheets, databases, word processing, and appropriate software applications. I took something out in there. And aptitude for research skills. I thought if they don't have that, you shouldn't even be talking to them. How did they get through college? So I don't need to be facetious, but I took that off because I wasn't sure what you were going for. An aptitude for numbers and details is highly desired, strong analytical skills, organizational skills, office management skills, and public speaking would round out the qualification. And then I clicked, and maybe I should know, maybe I shouldn't even read this. Candidate must be willing to ask questions, to work collaboratively with staff, and exhibit integrity. That's what I put. And there you have it. So then I started thinking, are you going to find somebody that has all of this? It's like asking somebody if they know they need to have knowledge of 65 computer programming languages. Well, they might know 2 of them pretty well, and they might have heard of the others. Does that mean they aren't qualified? So sometimes when you get too much stuff listed, anyway.
I've always taken a job posting as a wish list.
Okay, that's a good way of looking at it.
And you may get 2 out of 5 of your wishes, and then you're gonna have to decide, is that cut mustard? You know, someone who's 4 out of 5, you might say, that's the right person. You know, after you see the applications, you're gonna know where people are in that spectrum.
Yeah.
As long as you don't say must have the following, because then what happens if they don't?
Right.
But should have or preferred.
I would take the thorough out, unless it was something that you really, really wanted.
Bill back better. Bill, you said it's paid for, but the professional budget.
That's just, but I did take out some stuff and rewrote, so anyway. And then the preferred candidate, so the next paragraph, I don't think I made a lot of changes there, but the preferred candidate would reside in or near Townsend and be readily available for any possible municipal situation needing immediate attention.
Would reside in or near, is that what this says?
It says in or near. Pretty flexible.
And then goes on to say be available for.
Any possible municipal situation that would need immediate attention.
There aren't too many that require immediate attention of the town administrator, other than to be notified. I think just the ability to be close enough that, you know, that night meetings and potential weekend events are flexible enough to do that.
I would make the dollars 90 to 120. But I didn't put it in there. So what do you think of that? Well, is that too high, too low, too broad a
90
range?
is probably even for an assistant these days. I think 120. I was thinking 120, 135.
You have to change that table then to the special town meeting if that's the case, because I went on 120. That's what I went on.
Well, but that can
And I figured
change
that was
based
the
upon,
high end.
that can change based upon what week or month the person starts also.
Right.
I think we've got enough money in that line item to, the rest is just awful.
Okay. So you think it should be more like 120, 100?
I don't think you're gonna get anybody who's got any type of TA experience for 100, unless you're getting somebody from Western part of Massachusetts that's dealing with 600 residents.
Okay.
Like my hometown.
Wasn't pointing fingers at anybody.
No, but I was waiting.
Um,
I think it should be somewhere, I would never go over 120. I think that would be a max, put between 110 and 120. I don't know, but, I don't want to see paying 135, 140,000 for a TA. I just don't think that's acceptable. And absolutely, whatever we do at the TA, his pay doesn't work around what other employees get.
Yeah, well, that's a whole discussion on contract negotiations.
Don't worry, we'll get into that one.
Yeah,
we'll
but
get
not
in-
tonight.
No, but I think,
I did-
I'm sorry. Sorry, Ross, go
No,
ahead.
No, go ahead, go ahead.
I just think, we got to be honest to ourselves and to the community. I mean, we're not going to find anybody 100 like Ross has said. And if we do, what do we get? We're trying to move forward in a positive direction. I think the 110 to 120, I think that's a good range to start. We're a small community. We're not a big city. I think, I think that's a pretty rounded area. That 135, 140 is preposterous and out of control, and I don't even want to address that.
So how about if we do 110 to 125?
110 to 120. And let someone come in and let's go from there.
Thinking 100 to 120.
I think the 100 to 120. I think, what's your opinion, Ross? You're out there, what's out there.
I did a rather extensive salary survey in Sterling, and Sterling's about the same size as Townsend, and has about the same size budgets. I mean, I looked at budget size, population size, and number of employees, and the two towns are the same. 120 is on the low end, and 132 to 135 is where everybody is. And my data is now a year and a half old. So you can add 2% to each of those numbers.
So what
It's
is,
a question of how fast you want to get somebody. It's a question of how much experience you want.
Well, I've kind of said this 100 times, Ross. We just need you.
Thank you, Joe. If it was 10 years ago, or I was 10 years younger, I would be very serious about taking you off from that office. But
Didn't you stop counting your birthdays 10 years ago?
yeah, but my body didn't.
I mean, I want to be fair. I don't want this to be a dragged out situation for this search committee and all that. I mean, we need to move forward. We should be counting our blessings that we have Ross there to work with us and staying on as long as he is. So we need to make sure whatever we do right. I've always noticed there's a lot of ads for like people in my industry that advertise for cheap money, never get anywhere. So if we do that, we don't get any candidates, we're shooting ourselves in the foot.
Can we say something like compensation for this position would be in the 120K plus or minus? 120K range, and we'll be negotiating with the sitting board of
Yeah,
selectmen.
that's,
Can
yeah,
we
I
do
think,
something like that?
yeah, 120 plus or minus, that's fine.
Negotiates based upon skills and ability or experience.
Right. Yep, absolutely. At least you get some good candidates to apply, So let's put that in there, 125 plus or minus.
Well, I have 120 range.
120, I'm sorry,
And will
120.
be negotiated with the sitting board of selectmen. It
Yeah.
will be the supervisory body.
Mhm. But we don't want
You
to,
say
we don't
sitting
want
body,
to,
I mean, it's going to negotiate with the board of selectmen.
Period.
Yeah.
More words
We just-
out. I like it. More words gone.
We just don't want to stronghold the committee to not get applications. You know what I mean?
What do you think, Jack?
Whatever you guys want.
What's your thought, Chaz? I'm listening. I just think we got to get the right amount. I'm dead set against what we've been paying for some of these contracts. I really am. But we got to get a good candidate. And I think at 100, yeah, I think that is low. I think 135 is ludicrous. I think the 120 plus or minus is somewhere to go. That's just my opinion.
I'm not as, not the salary. And it's, I'm more willing to give a decent salary, a higher range salary, if there aren't the surrounding perks that go with it.
Well, compensation for this position would be, what's the word, commensurate to
Education and
the
experience.
experience, yeah.
Well, I would just put in the salary range. I wouldn't worry about all the other aspects of benefits, because negotiate that. And I would agree with you that all the other perks are not necessary.
Right, you know, because they're, I mean, that's what.
It sure as heck work on your severance terms. Sorry.
Okay, so,
Ross, hold your tongue over there.
okay, so I'm handing this to you. There you go. I
Post
think
it.
we've set it up. You can get rid of my words there, the ones that I have in square brackets. That's just me.
All right. All right. So what do we do from here?
What do you mean? So I need to make the changes and then do you want to look at it again, or how do you want to do it?
No, make the changes and go for it.
Yeah, just send it to us and we're good.
Make the changes and go for it.
So the changes for the most part that are on what I just gave you are already in.
Mhm.
Just I would put the TA, that you're looking for a TA sooner in the sentence than later in the sentence. Even though it is a TA job posting, so people know that,
Yeah.
you know, when they find it, but we put it sooner rather than later. That's all. And on this one, I didn't do anything on this one.
Job description?
What I don't see, and did I miss it? That's by the home rule charter, I think.
Does the posting and the job description talk about personnel skills or human resources?
Yeah.
The job description does, quite extensively, actually.
And the posting mentions them too.
Okay.
Yeah, job description has a lot of great points on that. So that's a good job description.
Public hiring, discrimination, harassment, all that stuff.
I think the thing is to get the posting out there. You can always amend the job description
I agree with
as you
that,
go.
right.
But I think this is pretty all inclusive.
The job description is a combination of 3 different towns' description. So pulled pieces of what I thought was important.
I think you hit the highlights. There's always more than what's there, or things that are a little bit different. but I did not go through, and this one didn't go through and edit it.
Anything from you, Joe?
No, I'm good. I think you guys got it. Yeah, no, I reviewed it. I mean, like I said, there's a lot there. It really describes everything, I think. It's, you can't get more, much more put on there than what you got, I mean, you got a lot on there. I mean, you could write a novel, but do we really need to get into it that deep?
On a job description?
Yeah,
Yes.
on the job description. Well, to an extent, this one's very extensive. I mean, what I'm reading, I mean, it's got a lot, you guys put a lot of key points into it. I mean, I don't see anything that would stand out that we should add. I mean, the amount of key points you guys put in are great. Talk about the home rule charter and all that. I mean, I think it's good.
So I'll make the changes and then I'll send them to you, and if you could send them up to them, and then we can go from there.
Yeah. I think you all did a great job.
That good with you, sir?
That works.
Okay. Dawn? Oh, Dave's there too. Yeah.
Nope, yep, everything's fine. I think it's good.
Okay. So we'll work up the change. There's Dave.
Yep.
Anything to add, Dave?
No, sounds pretty thorough to me.
Okay. All right, so we'll work that up and then we'll send it back out.
Good job.
Thank you, you guys. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
You.
Thank you. Oh. So where are we? 4.8. So moving
You don't
on.
have to stick around. You can go if you want.
All right. I didn't have dinner yet, so.
Okay, yeah.
Thank
Are
you.
you bringing pizza back?
What was that?
Are you bringing pizza and beer back?
I very well could do that. I don't think I'll leave you a copy of this, but I'll give this
Oh,
back
all
to you
right.
here.
Thank you.
Have a good night, everyone.
All right, thank you,
Okay,
sir.
thank you. All right, moving on to 4.8. I'm looking to see if I missed anything up to then. I don't think so. 4.8, motion to approve inside, outside of a meeting, all 2022 renewals for liquor licenses contingent upon a valid certificate of inspection and receipt of required documentation and payment. Is there a motion?
I move that we approve and sign outside of a meeting all 2022 renewals for liquor licenses contingent upon a valid certificate of inspection and receipt of required documentation and payment for the following. The Old Brick Store, Al Mariano Jr., Bailey's Bar and Grill, LLC, Mike Farlang, Gourmet House, Inc., doing business as Panda Walk, Chanchertha Corporation, DBA The Wine Nook, Nancy Pappas, Patriot Pizza and Subs, Townsend Country Club Corporation, Townsend Package Store, Robert Dickhut, Cooperage Inc., doing business as Townsend House, and Seasons Palace 3 Inc., doing business as Yee's Village.
Is there a second?
Second?
All right. Any discussion?
No.
All those in favor?
Joe Shank, yes.
Sexton Duranian, yes.
Veronica Kelly, yes.
And I'll come in over the weekend and sign those.
Sounds good. All right, moving on then to the town administrator updates and reports.
So we are still looking for applicants for the town accountant and the treasurer collector position. We had an inquiry from a company asking about retail marijuana operations in Townsend and where we were on host agreements. Told them I wasn't aware of any pending, and that's the last I've heard of them.
I saw your email. I thought it was a good email back to them. saying these are the things that you would be looking for, so. see what happens.
Senator Cronin's office called to say that there is a Senate Arca bill pending that includes $50,000 for the preservation of the Townsend's historic gazebo and bandstand. If
Nice.
this is approved, it could be very helpful because I've been told there's lead down there and lead remediation will be required for any work that's done. There's a group of citizens that have approached the board asking for a liaison from the select board to work with their group. So I don't know if anybody wants to be a liaison with the gazebo.
So I would move that even though it is an appointed board, more or less, since Chaz is they're through the cemetery and parks, and Chaz, you're the liaison for cemetery and parks. So I would move that. I'm not trying to put more work on you though, Chaz, so. But I'm the non-elected board, so if you aren't able to do it, I would be willing to, but I would move that Chaz be the liaison for that.
I'll second that.
All right, and you'll accept?
Yes.
And I would be glad to work with them from a procurement basis when they get to the point of needing it, a design or engineer or repair.
Great. All right, so is there, all in favor of Chaz being the liaison to the citizen group working on the gazebo restoration?
Joe Shank, yes.
Chaz Sexton-Duranian, yes.
Veronica Kelly, yes.
Congratulations, Chaz.
Actually, I wanted to be on this, to be
Good.
quite honest.
Good.
We need to beef up our historic buildings and structures in town, and this is, I think, a start to something really good for the town.
I got a call from today from a person representing a cell tower leasing company to tell us that the cell tower at 7 Dudley Road, which I gather is on town land, the lease expires in October of 2022. And apparently, according to Massachusetts state law, we have to put an RFP out to lease that to someone else or to anyone.
Okay.
And I go, yippee, another RFP. So assuming the town wants to renew that lease, and apparently they're paying the town $40,000 a year, then I will start working with town council and work on getting an RFP out for the cell tower at 12 Dudley Road.
Is it 12 or 7?
I thought it was 12, but there's probably only one on that Dudley Road, so.
How about negotiate the price? Higher.
Yes, and that's partly why we have to do an RFP. The woman I talked to said they're not making any money on it and hinted that we shouldn't raise more. And I said, when you put dollar signs out there, I'm looking for a lot more. So anyway, that's just something that's pending.
All right.
Health insurance, I signed the health insurance consulting services agreement with NFC, or NFP actually. And Joe, we got it for $8,000 instead of $10,000.
Good job. Great job. Thank you.
Yeah.
Ken wanted to be sure I told you that. So,
Tell him thank you. I appreciate that.
yeah, I did. Town hall water. A few people approached me with concerns about it. I had it tested. The water fountain out here, they tested a bathroom sink and they tested the employee break from upstairs. And the test came back fine. All preliminary drinking water standards tested were found to be below the maximum contamination level. And yet, also, all 3 tests showed that there's iron in the water, which is considered a secondary maximum contaminant, but is not considered harmful. It affects, obviously, the staining of the fixtures and doesn't taste very well. There is some sodium in the town hall water and suggests that anybody that's got a sodium restriction diet, they talk to their doctor before they consume this water. So with all of that, with a bad taste and some sodium and iron, we have new water bubblers in town. The bubblers themselves were paid for out of COVID money, and the water charges would be not be of an issue. We talked about changing town hall hours. So after polling the staff, the consensus is to keep the existing hours. Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, 9 to 4, and Tuesday, 9 to 6. But it would help, since there was low public traffic on Friday, that we close the building to and close phone calls to the public on Friday. So, approved by the board, then we would adjust our signs and our voice messages to let people know accordingly. But it'd be the same hours, just close to the public on Friday.
I'm good with close to the public on Friday afternoon. But not necessarily for the morning. I mean,
Well, I guess
even
my-
last week or the week before, there was someone was looking for finding out whether the treasurer's office was open on a Friday morning. And I answered an email about that, either last week or the week before.
What were you gonna say?
Well, I guess my question would be, all right, I agree, close the town hall on Friday, but I mean, if they're still going to be working, what's the reason to have it closed? I know they all have a lot to do. I get that. But if they're going to be there, why wouldn't they be accessible to the general public?
Good question. Is because a lot of their work is so interrupt driven that if they could have a couple hours of no interruptions, they can actually get a lot of work done. We've noticed that for the assistant treasurer collector, where she's been working nights, as has payroll. There's no one coming in, there's no phones ringing, they can pound out a lot of stuff because it's just not getting interrupted. And
Okay.
Fridays, we figured we're low volume, so there's not too many people that be inconvenienced. The other
right.
part of me says for public service, we should have every office open 40 hours a week, but that's just not feasible. And there really isn't that much work to justify that. The board could try this for a few months, and if it turns out that we've caused a storm, then maybe we look at it again.
That's fine. I'm good with that.
I think that the afternoon being closed is more palatable for me. I know that there are certain, the town clerk is going to be closed on a Friday. Do this, and I don't see that. We don't get a lot of foot traffic, but I don't think we need to cut off. I mean, if somebody needs something on a Friday, if the last of the dog licenses end on a Friday, that means that they're not going to be able to get it. So,
I guess I agree with Chaz on that. I'm good with Friday afternoons being closed. It is low foot traffic around here. So close to the public on Friday afternoon, employees still here, I'm good with. But I think we should be open on Friday mornings. And in fact, I think it should be 8 to noon. But I think we should have an 8 a.m. hour some day of the week to allow people who, would go before work to come in. But that might not be usable anyway. If you weren't going to be able to come in before work, then you might take a Friday off. If the town hall is closed, you lose that option.
I think the 8 o'clock start would be very unpopular, especially during the winter when it's
Right.
getting up in the dark.
I would say 9 to noon on Fridays open. And then, noon to 4 closed, but work hours are still 9 to 4 on Friday.
Okay.
For those offices that are closed, there are some offices that are closed on Fridays anyway.
Right.
yeah.
That's what I would do.
a reasonable start and see how
And,
that works.
I'm okay with that.
and I think we should start this after Thanksgiving, like the Monday after Thanksgiving. So Friday is 9 to noon. All right, do we need a motion or are we good?
Motion for new town hall hours, closing the public at noon on Fridays. That day, whatever it is.
Is there a second?
Second,
All those in favor?
29.
Joe Shank, yes.
Sexton Duranian, yes.
Veronica Kell, yes. All right.
Town hall, oh, and speaking of office hours, town council is available, I think, next Monday, the 23rd, would be the fourth Monday or fourth Tuesday.
It's usually the fourth Tuesday.
Fourth
but we did
Tuesday.
Monday last.
But he wasn't sure whether, some people weren't sure whether people weren't gonna be around next week and would rather have them meet on Tuesday, the 30th. He's open either way.
30th.
The 30th.
30th, yeah. Yeah.
And council hours, then our office hours are Tuesday, the 30th from 4 to 7.
Okay.
Right?
I have a cover sheet for the Green Communities Annual Report that MRPC drafted. We need, I think, Veronica to sign it.
Me or you?
Well, it says Chief Executive or Chair, I think. You can authorize me to sign it. If you wish.
Listen to this. A sleeve. It's like a Jimmy Cannon, went up and down, carved like an apple tart. All I get from this is blah, 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 apple tart.
Are we good with signing this? Do we need a motion or can I just sign this?
I think it's,
Yeah, it's just their annual report.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's, yeah.
Well, I don't know about you, that's not my first kiss.
COVID. The case count in Sterling is down as of the 12th. It's down to 21. I think it was up in the high 30s a few weeks ago. Townsend's positivity rate on tests is 3.9% compared to 1.45 for Middlesex or 1.87 for the state. But based on this information, last Friday, the Board of Health voted to recommend that masks are no longer required in municipal buildings in Townsend. If the board agrees, I'll send a notice out to all employees to say masks are not required for employees and visitors if they are vaccinated. We can post signs accordingly.
So we're going back to where we were before, whatever it was, October 12th. I guess I would be more comfortable if did Neshoba Board of Health recommend this?
Rick was part of the meeting with the Board of Health that made that recommendation, I believe.
He wasn't there. on
Was it
Friday.
there?
Yeah. I asked Carla for, she's not on anymore, she was on earlier. I asked her to get something from them. When I saw her on Monday, when I saw that, that's what I was looking for, like, what was this based on? I would happily not wear a mask. But I don't know, I just want to make sure it's safe for everybody. That's all. I know they voted it, but I thought, I guess what I heard at the meeting on the 29th of October was that if we were below 4 for 3 or below 25 count for 3 weeks in a row, then we would go back. So this is different than that, and that's why I questioned it. I'm good with it. but I'd like to know that it's good for everybody.
I can only defer to the Board of Health, who I think has spent a lot of time tracking this whole COVID thing and suggest implementing their recommendations, but on the other hand, there's nothing, well,
I don't know, so Chaz and Joe, what do you guys think?
I mean, mask on, mask off, it's kind of going back and forth. I mean, if you're vaccinated, no mask. If you're not vaccinated, wear a mask. I mean, I think that's pretty much all the state rule, right?
Yeah.
So I just post it that way at town hall. If you're unvaccinated, you got to wear a mask. If you're vaccinated, no mask. Just, that's it. You know, I don't want to go backwards in town. I want to move forward.
For 2 weeks ago. Is there a motion?
I move that we remove the masking mandate here for town hall
Second.
these buildings,
in municipal buildings.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Joe Shank, yes.
Chaz Sexton Duranian, yes.
Veronica Kell, yes.
well, no masks in municipal buildings if vaccinated, but
Right,
that includes employees and visitors.
correct.
Okay, thank you, and I'll send that note out tomorrow.
But we still have our cleaner and everything
Yes.
that's doing it, so we should
Yes,
be
and
okay.
I think that's still important.
Yep.
I
until-
agree.
Yep.
And I think that's one of the uses, now that we're gonna sign the contract for the Arca, we can get Jennifer to calculate the decreased revenue,
Mhm.
and we could use that money, I think, towards that position.
Well, I put
One thing.
I put that number for now in the budget that we talked about for town meeting, but
Mhm.
yes, if we can recoup that, that would be great. I heard there was a request to put window blinds up here.
It was?
What came from you?
For me? I asked, are there window blinds? Because I was gonna pull them down the other day, but there aren't.
There aren't, and
I don't-
the facilities has gone off and looked for them and found Venetian blinds. The question is, do you want shades of blinds there? And if you do, what style? And 3 is what color? And they asked me, and in my job description it says I do not pick colors.
Okay, I'm never saying anything.
People hang on your every word, Veronica.
I guess they do. I was moving it was the other day, and I was moving the owl around to get it because we didn't have, and I was
Yeah,
looking for shades.
But I was
and there
thinking
weren't
of
shades.
those the pleated ones to pull down for those. Because if you have the pleated ones,
Well, if we get them, I want them black.
that,
Yeah.
you mean room dark.
First of all, where's the money gonna
I
come
mean, I
from?
don't want, yeah, I mean, where are we
It
getting
was,
this
it was
from?
like $20 or $30 a window. So we're talking $100 to $150 or something.
It would be facilities budget.
I have to say something, no black.
Oh, hey.
Whoa, okay,
This is
Lisa.
gotta end up.
I'm just
Lisa,
thinking
Nobody's
of-
listening to seeing my hand, so I'll let her.
I'm just thinking of making it dark. I mean, it was because we had to, when it's bright in
Yeah.
here and you're having a meeting, you have to move that owl into the
But
shed.
if you get like wooden blinds even, or any of the kind, and just shut them all the way, it'll block it out, so.
Wooden blinds need dusted. I hate dusting.
Well, all
Well,
the
you're not
windows have
dusting.
these blinds.
They have these,
And these are a gray, I think, color.
Just match what we got there. Just match what
Exactly.
we got there. Just whatever we have there, match it so the room looks good and just move on. Because I'll agree with Veronica. We've had a couple meetings during the day and there's guests in the chairs sitting
Yeah.
there and they can't see, they're blinded and very unprofessional. So just move forward, put some blinds up to match the rest and move on.
Okay, Matson.
Match
Okay,
it, done.
I decree it.
There you go. Thank you. But now you know
Nice
why I didn't
job.
elect them.
There you go.
Okay, the rest of it's just the dates for town meeting. I think you're aware of that. I'm good to go. Thank you.
Good job, Ross. Thank you.
All right. We're all set there. Okay, reports from board liaisons. All right, I have a few things. Tomorrow night is, I don't know if you guys have been following this, but I've been attending, not all, but most of these meetings. This is the North Central Climate Change Collaborative. And I think the first meeting was this summer in June. It's a regional group of municipalities to increase the efficacy of the partnership between federal, state, and municipal entities in order to combat climate change through legislative action, shared projects, and general education, including development of shared best practices. So I put the agenda for tomorrow night's meeting, and one of the things is to look at the mission statement. So I was gonna attend for the town. Not like I need one more thing, but I will. So at least for now, and maybe if we do sign on with this, then we should consider making this a position that someone volunteers for or something. I don't know. So anyway, that's all I have to say about that, unless you guys had comments on it.
No, I thought it was interesting, actually.
So I've attended 2 or 3 of these meetings. This will be 3rd or 4th. So anyway, I just think it would be good for Townsend to have a presence at it. I think Dave Funioli attended the first one as well as me. I think we were the 2 people there from Townsend back in June. So. All right, so that's that. Conscom, I have been thinking about CASA and the fact that we have a lease that's going to be up at the end of March, and we need to know the direction that we're going in as far as preservation of the Squanicook Meadows property goes.
Mhm.
So I had asked the Conservation Commission to look at the different possibilities, conservation restriction versus a deed restriction.
Mhm.
And I asked them to get back to us because it's the Board of Selectmen who make the decision on which way to go.
Mhm.
But I wanted to know their thoughts.
Either a conservation restriction or,
A deed restriction.
gotcha.
If it's a deed restriction, we would need to deed the
Write it
property
into the-
to the Conservation Commission and put it on and put whatever restrictions we want in the deed itself. I like conservation restrictions. I shouldn't say what I like, I guess. Conservation restrictions I'm more familiar with, and Fish and Wildlife has one for properties that we would look at and say whether they're allowed uses, whether they're not allowed uses. You can put a map in with the bounds. You can do this here, you can do this there.
Mhm.
But so that CASA or any other leaseholder going forward knows what they can and cannot do on the property. So anyway, they're gonna, they talked about it a little bit at last week's meeting. I had put it on our December 7th agenda, but we might want to move it to the beginning of January. Gives us less time. We're gonna have to know amongst us and from them what they want, but so there's that. Shared winter streets and spaces, items are coming in regularly. We have a bid opening, is it next week? Ross? Monday, I think,
22nd.
the 22nd, for the bid opening for the RFP at Spalding School and the ADA compliant crosswalk there. And hopefully we'll get rebid as soon as I get my act together to separate everything correctly for the striping and rebid that. But we have in the bike repair stations, we have the planters, we have the Vicksburg signs, which are going to be placed soon, hopefully, by the highway department. We walked out with them last week and have the spots marked. Wild and Scenic is pretty well under control. Roger is getting signage for that. The signs have to include the logo for Wild and Scenic from the federal government, and then also for the local Wild and Scenic group. So he's working on
Can
that.
I just plug, they're doing a great job on cemetery and parks as far as the work that they've done in town throughout the summer and even now. Adams Dam area looks
That looks
fabulous.
great.
Yep.
That was done with the Wild and Scenic grant.
Yep.
And I should say that I'm gonna take my little flip charts and start putting them downstairs, because 2 grants that I know about now that are due coming up. February 1st is the next round of the Wild and Scenic Community Grant, which helps pay for Adams Dam.
Yep.
And the February 2nd is the Mass Trails Grant.
Right.
So we might want to look at both of those.
And it's important to note that with that grant and working with the town departments that we have, that's how we can make these things happen.
That's
And
right.
the more help we get from outside with our boards and committees, I think the better, the better these projects can go. Actually, the quicker that they can go with the more people involved in it.
So when I find out what the grant due dates are, I'm putting it downstairs, and so that people can write up grant ideas.
Good.
So I should also say we have 2 applicants for land use coordinator that we haven't looked at yet, and 1 for grant administrator that came in tonight.
Good.
So we'll be looking at those positions.
Nice.
So that's all I have. Maybe I should have more, but
For elected boards, I have, really, I've been working very closely with the water department. I just want to say that they're doing a really good job in regards to getting things ready. There's a lot of things that the water department is doing. There's a lot of things that need to be done. And I just ask the public to keep us informed if there's issues going on with anything to do with water, but let them know, call them directly, and they'll be able to jump on certain things. They have old meters that they need to be replaced. That project is pretty much almost wrapped up. But they have a new emergency vehicle that they're working on to get it up and running. So it's there's a lot of good progress the water department is doing. And then with PFAS, they're also working with the state and federal, and we'll have more information as that comes rolling out. There's also we had to change a meeting for the rec department, but that the next meeting is coming up. We are going to be talking about the fitness court that we had talked about previous to that. We need to, there is a contract that I think that we need to sign. It's not really a contract. I think it's just an agreement that we know. I put it in SharePoint. I don't know if you guys saw that.
I didn't see it.
Okay. But we need to get, if we can take a look at that, that needs to be done sooner rather than later, so that the rec department is looking for the financing, putting together committees for fundraising, and they're really doing a lot of work on that.
Didn't we sign something already on the day that we voted it?
Yes, we agreed that we were going to do it, but we never did it because we wanted to make sure there was one change in it.
Yeah,
And the change was approved, but we've
we
never,
never signed it?
no.
Okay, so that can just go out there. That doesn't need to be agenda.
No.
Okay.
No.
That needs to be printed and put on the shelf.
Correct.
Okay,
Yeah, and if we can do that and get it to Emmy, the director, then we're good to
Okay.
go there. I said, yeah, we can do that. And outside of that, I just think that I wanted to basically say that We still have a lot of open positions for volunteer, and we're always open and available for taking volunteer forms for anybody who's willing to do some volunteering. So please take a look at our website and see what's open. Even if it's just an hour a month or 3 or 4 hours a month, we greatly appreciate it.
Public
Okay.
safety, Jerry, do you have anything?
Yeah, public safety, couple things. First, we talked a little bit, touched on the communications center. Chief Sartell, acting Chief Shepherd have worked very close with the surrounding towns, and myself involved in trying to get to a point where we can hopefully get out of the Neshoba and into Patriot, which I think that will be a huge asset for the community. It'll be safer for all the police and firefighters personally. I think the fire department, the morale that I've noticed has really improved. Things over there seem to be running a lot smoother. Not quite sure exactly why that is at this point, but whatever is going on, I hope it keeps going and it stays positive. I see we're bringing on some paramedics coming to join. People are staying around, so that's good. The police end of it, I know Chief Sartell and I've had a couple of conversations. COVID's pretty much so a struggling point for everybody, a lot going on, but he's pretty much so working around those issues. So other than that, I don't really have anything else to speak about.
When are you back in Massachusetts?
I'll be back. Really? I'll be back on Saturday morning. Why?
Well, I thought we ought to have a meeting with the union probably next week.
Oh, yeah. Well, I got Monday, we got meeting, and Monday we have that one. So you let me know. I'm fine with whatever you want to do. I'm good with
Okay.
that. So I'm good there.
Okay. Moving on to 5.3, announcements and communications. The Board of Selectmen would like to acknowledge the resignation of Michael McEachern from the Board of Water Commissioners. He was a longtime commissioner, and so thank you for your service. We would also like to acknowledge the resignation of Sergeant Kimberly Matson from the Townsend Police Department. Same thing, a longtime member of the police department, and thank you for your service to the town.
Can I Madam Chair?
Sure, Joe.
I just want to expand a little bit on that, what you just said. I mean, I've known Mike McEachern for many years. He's put a lot of hard effort into the water department. He worked for the town's water department for many years. It's really a great loss to see somebody of that caliber, resign. Also, I just really want to send an extra thank you also out to Sergeant Matson. I knew her when she first came on the department. Myself, I can't speak for anybody else in the department. I've had many, if I haven't had, it's crazy amount of people that have called, and very sad that she has left our community. So I just personally want to thank her for all her hard work and her professionalism that I've always seen over the 25 plus years she was in town.
All right, thank you. 5.4, our next meeting is Monday, November 22nd at 9 a.m. We have an executive session at 9, followed by a Arca work session at 10. We also have some items that need to be addressed on the 22nd. So we'll be adding those to the agenda. December 6th at 9 a.m. is another working meeting, also for Arca. And that's a meeting at which we should be ready to define our projects. Speaking of that, I did put in SharePoint the ARPA project list of all the things that have come in. That's kind of a working document. You can see the red is stuff that I added after I did it the first time.
Mhm.
So I keep thinking of things. If you think of things that I haven't put in there, feel free to take it. I'm gonna copy it, probably Thursday or Friday and move it, probably Thursday. That's 2 days, 48 hours before, to move it into the work session. So feel free to add anything to that, I've taken copies of all of these across the front.
Right.
And also anything, people have emailed me lists as well. And so I added all that. December 7th is our regular 6 PM meeting, and we have a lot in that meeting. There's a CDBG hearing in that meeting. There's the tax rate hearing in that meeting. Wild and Scenic is going to make a presentation. They need to make a report every year to the town. So there's a lot going on at that meeting. And then December 14th, of course, we have the special town meeting. I didn't put it on here and I should have. But,
When is that?
Tuesday, December 14th at 7 PM in the Great Hall. Is
And that's
the
another
special town meeting.
Oh, it's town meeting, yeah.
That's town meeting.
Yeah.
So those are our next 4 meetings. I was hoping, just looking at, since we have holidays coming up, that we wouldn't have, after the special town meeting, we wouldn't have another meeting until the first week of January, January 4th. Are we good with that?
Or,
Okay,
Sure.
all right, that's the goal.
I think we're gonna put in the December agenda discussing the buildings open and close around the holidays, Christmas
Yes,
and New Year's.
we need to do that too.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
another December 7th.
Okay.
Buildings, okay,
That may already be there, but if not, it should be.
okay, yeah, I don't remember. All right, 5.5, review and sign payroll and bills payable warrants out of session this week and next week. Is there a motion?
I move that we review and sign payroll and bills payable warrants out of session.
Second,
All those in favor?
Joe Shank, yes.
Sexton-Duranian, yes.
Veronica Cal, yes. All right.
Those are all set, aren't they? Are they in there?
Yeah, I know you
I'll go
signed
now.
some yesterday payroll.
Okay. I haven't signed this. All right, and with that, is there a motion to adjourn?
I move that we adjourn at 8:16.
Second,
All those in favor?
Joe Shank, yes.
Sexton-Duranian, yes.
Veronica Cal, yes. And the meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everybody.